This roster is coming together fast, and every single day brings something new. A massive run stuffer just signed with this defense, built exactly for what Rob Leonard wants to do up front. A familiar face from Boise State is headed to Las Vegas to add depth at a position that could be elite. There's a veteran wide receiver still sitting in free agency who makes too much sense to ignore. And the most important player on this roster just made his feelings about Fernando Mendoza very clear. Raider Nation, let's get into it. The Raiders needed a nose tackle, and the draft didn't really solve that problem. But then the team went out and signed defensive tackle Gary Smith III as an undrafted free agent out of UCLA. At 319 pounds, this dude is built to eat space and clog running lanes, which is exactly what Rob Leonard needs at the center of that 3-4 defense. Lance Zierlein at NFL.com described him as a squatty, space-eating nose tackle with a wide and powerful base who can use his natural leverage to grow deep roots against downhill schemes. That's the job description for a nose tackle in this system, and Smith fits it physically. Now, the honest truth is that he's not going to bring any pass rush upside. Zierlein was clear about that. But that's not why you sign a player like this. You sign him because he makes life easier for everybody around him. When a nose tackle commands a double team and clogs the middle of the field, linebackers run free and edge rushers get one-on-one matchups. That's the value. Smith dealt with injury issues in college and missed all of the 2024 season, so there are durability questions that are real. He's also 24 years old, which is older than your typical undrafted rookie. But he has experience, and he has the body type that this coaching staff is specifically looking for. The Raiders are clearly betting on their young defensive tackles to step up this season. Tonka Hemingway had 4 sacks in just 9 games last year. That's a real number for a defensive tackle. J.J. Pegues didn't make as many plays, but his body type fits this 3-4 system as well. If either of those two takes a real step forward, the decision not to spend big on a veteran defensive tackle looks smart. Smith coming in as an undrafted free agent adds competition and depth to a room that needed both. Built different at 319 pounds, and he's going to make someone's life very difficult in training camp. The tight end room just got deeper, and the guy who made it happen is tight end Matt Lauder, an undrafted free agent out of Boise State who Ashton Jeanty knows very well. The two played together for 3 seasons with the Broncos, and that familiarity doesn't disappear overnight. Now, nobody is saying Lauder walks in and starts. Brock Bowers and Michael Mayer are firmly at the top of that depth chart, and that duo has a real chance to be one of the best tight end pairs in the entire NFL this season. But Mayer has been banged up for much of his career, and depth at tight end is not something you take for granted over a full season. Lauder put up 47 catches for 619 yards in 2024 at Boise State. That's a productive player who knows how to get open and finish plays. He earned this shot. Meanwhile, the bigger story coming out of draft weekend is just how well this entire class is being received. Mel Kiper Jr. gave the Raiders an A grade and said that outside of Mendoza, the 4th round could define the rest of this draft class. He pointed to Jermod McCoy specifically, a cornerback who was in the conversation for the top corner in this class before tearing his ACL in January 2025. Kiper kept him at number 29 on his board, but teams kept passing because of the knee. If McCoy gets healthy and plays to his tape, that pick is a steal, full stop. And GM John Spytek explained exactly why Mendoza was their guy from the start. Size, vision downfield, accuracy, and the athleticism to run the boots and keepers that Andrew Janocko wants built into this offense. Everything fits. This draft class has real layers, and the front office deserves credit for how they put it together. Drop your take in the comments. I want to know which pick from this class you're betting on most when training camp opens. The roster is taking shape, and the draft class is earning A grades across the board. But that wide receiver room is still the biggest question mark on this offense. There is a veteran receiver sitting in free agency right now with the size, the experience, and the scheme familiarity to step in and contribute immediately. Raider Nation, I need your take. Do the Raiders go get him now, or do they trust what they already have? Drop it in the comments. Hit that like button if you're riding with this rebuild, because what's coming next at quarterback is something we've been waiting years to feel good about. 77 catches for 975 yards in 2024, and this guy is still sitting in free agency. And the veteran wide receiver who makes the most sense for this offense is Jauan Jennings. NFL.com's Greg Rosenthal said it straight. Jennings would be a great fit for the Raiders, and when you look at what this offense actually needs, it's hard to argue. At 6'3", he is the X-receiver that this roster is missing right now. Trey Tucker, Jalen Nailor, and Malik Benson are all interesting pieces, but none of them are that big physical presence on the outside who can win contested catches and demand respect from a defense. Jennings is that guy. And here's what makes this connection even more interesting. He previously worked with head coach Clint Kubiak when they were both in San Francisco. He already knows the system. He already knows the language. You're not asking a veteran receiver to learn a brand new offense from scratch. You're asking him to come home to something familiar and produce. That's a massive advantage for a young quarterback like Fernando Mendoza, who needs reliable targets he can trust in critical moments. Now, Jennings has been sitting in free agency longer than he expected, and that tells you teams have questions about his value. His numbers outside of that 2024 season haven't been consistently elite. He's had years with under 643 receiving yards. He's a good receiver, not a star, and the price has to be right for this to make sense. But if the Raiders can get him at the right number, this is a no-brainer. A 6'3" veteran who knows this system, has proven he can put up real numbers, and gives Mendoza a legitimate big target on the outside. That is exactly what this offense is missing right now. Raider Nation has been patient about the receiver room all offseason. This might be the move that finally puts that conversation to rest. Nobody in that building carries more weight than Maxx Crosby, and what Maxx Crosby said about Fernando Mendoza this week should make every single person in Raider Nation feel something real. Crosby went on the rush and made it clear. He's fired up, he's already been talking to Mendoza since draft night, and he's ready to take the young quarterback under his wing and help him find his way in this league. That's not a press conference answer. That's a veteran who genuinely believes in what's coming. Crosby said the two have been texting back and forth ever since draft night, and that he got on FaceTime with Mendoza the moment the pick was announced. That kind of connection between your best player and your franchise quarterback before they've even stepped on the field together, that matters more than people realize. Leadership is contagious, and when the guy who sets the standard on your defense is personally invested in the development of your rookie quarterback, the whole culture of that building shifts. Crosby's advice to Mendoza was simple, and it was real. You don't need a lot of words early. You earn respect through your work, by being early, by being late to leave, by being consistent every single day. That's dog mentality, and that's exactly what Mendoza is going to need to survive his first NFL season. Former Raiders star Kirk Morrison was equally direct about the quarterback situation. He said this is going to be a process under Clint Kubiak, that Kirk Cousins may well start week 1, and that training camp is where Mendoza will have to prove he's ready. Nobody is handing him anything. We feel this one in our chest. Every single one of us who has watched this franchise search for a franchise quarterback for years and years. Mendoza has the talent, he has the right attitude, and now he has the most important player on this roster, personally invested in making sure he succeeds. Just win, baby, starts with believing in the right guy. And for the first time in a long time, this franchise might actually have him. The pieces are falling into place. A nose tackle built for this defense just signed his name to a Raiders contract. A tight end with real production is headed to Las Vegas to back up one of the best duos at the position in the league. A veteran receiver with size and scheme familiarity is sitting in free agency, waiting for a call that makes complete sense. And the most important player on this roster is personally invested in making the future of this franchise work. This is what building looks like. Drop your take in the comments. This space belongs to everyone who is part of Raider Nation. Tomorrow we have more.